what else are you doing as far as your lending? Are you seeing a lot of people, what are you seeing other investors doing with your lending at this moment because of the whole interest rates? And, are you seeing slowdown? Are you seeing, some others pick back up? What is it you're seeing?
We were really, really strong through October. This month has been a little bit slower, and so I'm kind of curious if the market is shifting, and that's both 30 years and then the short-term stuff as well. But we are still getting a lot of inquiries, and so I think it's too early to tell. It could just be that our regular clients are working on stuff, and they'll be back soon because we did just cash out a few people, and they're looking to do a bunch of stuff, and so. It could just be the cycle of the individuals that we work with right now. But yeah, I mean, in terms of business, we're doing more this year than we did last year. So it's too early to tell. Yeah.
Yeah, at least you're doing more this year. Maybe this month is a little slow, but it's around the holidays, so you never know.
Yep, exactly.
So, one person from YouTube actually had a question. What products does Greenblock offer? What type of products?
Yeah, I can run through the list. We do, let's see, starting with transactional loans, and that's something typically for wholesalers where like they're doing A to B and they're doing A to B deals, and so we come in the middle to fund the A, and then they pay us off with the B. So transactional loans are normally just a day. Let's see, we do bridge loans, so like cash outs short term on a property you already own, maybe to do light rehab, something like that. Obviously fix and flips, they're kind of our bread and butter. What else? We also do 30-year loans on rentals. We do 30-year loans on Airbnbs. We used to, until recently, do 30 years on 5 to 8 units, and then just normal commercial loans on 8+ or 9+. So basically, with the exception of like HELOCs, home equity lines of credit, we can do most things that a conventional bank can do, except we're either doing them for 1 or 2 years or 30 years. There's no product in the middle right now.
Now, do you primarily, for investors, go by credit base, or do you primarily do asset-based lending, or do you do both?
We do both. We primarily go off of the asset, but we do run credit checks, and unfortunately, we've found that the clients that have defaulted, and we've only had 3 as of now over our whole 6-year history. They tend to have poorer credit. And so if your credit's not great, work on your credit, show that you can make the payments you need to make, and we would love to work with you.
Now, this comes from Gilad over on Facebook. Can your company work with non-U.S. citizens for loans?
Hi, Lad. Thank you for the question. Yes, we do. We've done it. We can work with foreign nationals. The only requirements are that you have a U.S.-based entity and that you have a bank account in the U.S. tied to that entity.
Gotcha. Okay. So, speaking of that, make sure you have your LLCs intact. So,
yeah, we can only lend to entities.
Gotcha. And want to say Kevin Beam over on YouTube here. Thanks for joining us here. Want to say thanks for our time. I appreciate it. So, and then this is actually from Gary again as well. We are just waiting on the right buy. Kind of scary to end upside down. Can't take the risks that you could in 2019 and 20. So I completely agree with that. So it's 100%, on that. So, and then he also asked, what's your minimum credit score loan important for future buyers to work on their credit scores. So again, if you're not buying right now and you need to work on your credit score for lenders, this is the time to do it. So 100%.
Yeah. And with regard to the changes in rates, it's affected lending in every way. It's not just the rates that are going up, but lending is tightening. And what that means is that LTVs are coming down and the requirements from borrowers is going up. So we used to lend down at one point to a 590 middle credit score, and then it creeped up to 620, and now it's all the way up to 650 middle FICO. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's definitely getting tougher to get a loan, and it's basically because nobody wants to end up holding your bad project or something like that. So we're just being a lot more, we're just being a lot more conservative with our loans.
Yeah, 100%. This Fugi TV, you really need to change your name on there, by the way. But is there a seasoning period for cash out refinancing or delayed financing on an option? Do you have any of that?
Yeah. So our seasoning period, to write a 30-year, for instance, if you used short-term hard money or something along those lines, the seasoning period is 3 months. If you paid cash, the seasoning period is 6 months. And then we can do a delayed purchase up to 6 months.
Gotcha. Okay. And then Mohammed actually said, do you have a minimum or maximum for your loans on a single family homes? For instance, we get a lot of Detroit homes that are 20 grand, things like that. And what are your LTV ratios?
Sure. So to answer your first question, our minimum loan amount is $50,000. However, having said that, the minimum as is value of the property needs to be at least $100,000, which unfortunately does exclude a lot of Detroit and Metro Detroit properties. For some reason, we get a lot of inquiries about Inkster. I don't know what is going on in Inkster, but people seem to really want properties there lately. But yeah, a lot of the properties are like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and we simply can't do that. And then to answer your sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Nick.
Oh, okay. So to answer your second question, LTV really depends on the type of loan because it's different from short term versus long term, as well as your experience in credit score. But our typical LTV on a short-term loan is 85% of purchase and 100% of rehab through draws. And on a long-term loan, on a purchase, it's 80%. On a refi, just rate and term is 75, and on a cash out, it's 70.
Okay. So on a cash out refi, usually you're sticking to that 70% right now.
That's right.
Just because, is it because of the interest rates, or did you always do that?
No, our cash out refis used to be 75%, but we recently dropped it to 70 again, just because of risk increasing. We actually believe prices will either hold steady, although I think that's a long shot, or will actually decline next year, towards the end of the year in particular.
Yeah, in my opinion, if you want to go year over year, they will decline.
Yeah.
If you want to go, from right now where we're at, I think that they're going to stay steady. So, for instance, if you go year over year from April and March, 100% decline.
Right.
Then if you go to, say, next November, year over year, I think they're going to stay roughly a lot closer to being steady. May go a little bit down, but I think it'll be closer. I think right now is where we're at the curvature. We're not coming up yet. We're still at the, it'll fluctuate a little bit,
Totally.
Again, just my personal opinion,
Likewise.
It all depends on where the Fed goes. If the Fed wants to still do more, huge hike rates continuously, then it will just, then it will just continue to go down. But it all depends on where we're at right now. So,
Totally.
yeah. So, definitely Gary was saying the 70% LTV is pretty low. It was 85 a little while ago. So, any early payoff penalties on a 30-year?
Yes, but it's a step down, 5-year step down. So year one, 5% of the loan amount, year two, 4%, so on and so forth. Year 5 is 1%.
Okay, so it's not really too bad. Maybe by the time you get to a 15-year, then it doesn't really go against you.
Right. I mean, after 5 years, there's no prepayment penalty. So.
Gotcha. Okay. What are people coming to you right now and asking for? Like, what are you guys thinking about for the future? Okay. I know that you had a deal, a syndication deal down south, an apartment deal that you guys had, where you were leading the syndication, correct? You weren't.
Yeah. So
Okay.
We got brought into that by a group called Premium Cashflow Capital.
Okay.
You can find them online. I think it's premiumcashflow.com or premiumcashflowcapital.com. And they're great to work with, the 3 guys in there. So we got brought in to provide part of the EMD, to also sign on the loan, and also to raise funds. And we managed to close the deal and lock the rate way before all this started happening. I think we closed in June, and we got like we got like a 4% rate, and so it's performing and going fine. I would be lying, however, if I didn't say that I'm not a little bit worried about the refinance in a few years. But who knows what February 2023 will hold, let alone 2025. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
No, 100%. I honestly think rates will stay steady for a couple of years to what they are a little bit right now, and then come down just a little bit. So unfortunately, people don't realize that they're so used to those low 2s and 3s that we've always been at a 4 or 5%, 6% interest rate.
Yeah.
So I mean, 4% is that, to me, that's a killer deal. So it's just really crazy. But before we move on real quick, Mohammed had just a quick question. With good credit, what are your typical rates like, and how many points do you usually charge? And I'm assuming he's talking hard money. So, give us with somebody who's experienced and then a beginner.
Well, I can give you the whole spread on short-term loans for like a fix and flip, a bridge, whatever. Currently, our rates are from 10.75% to 12.75%. That's percent per year, with 3 points at close. So if you have a ton of experience, great credit, you're talking about 10.75%. If you've never done this before and your credit is 651, 12.75%. On the long-term stuff, our base rate is currently 6.8%, and we actually let you choose how many points you want to pay at close on the long-term stuff. That's again 30-year fixed rate from 1 to 4 points. So the 6.8% base rate is with 4 points. If you only want to pay 1 point, that's fine, but that's about 7.5% right now.
Yeah, so you're basically buying down your rate a little bit.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Okay.